Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jamuna Tira Brahmachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Sri Sri Radha Madhava Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Squeaky. So we're continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth canto, entitled Swayambhuva Manu Advises Dhruva Maharaj. And today we're looking at shloka number 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Mudirayet Nashtapraye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Excuse me. Sakal Vidam Bhagavan Akala Shaktya Guna Pravahena Vivakta Virya Karotya Kartaiva Nihantya Hanta Chesta Vibhumna Kaludur Vibhavya Sakal Vidam Bhagavan Kala Shakya Guna Pravahena Vibhakta Virya Karotya Kartaiva Nihantya Hanta Chesta Vibhumna Kaludhar Vibhavya Sakal Vidam Bhagavan Kala Shaktya Guna Pravahena Vibhakta Virya Karotya Kartaiva Nihantya Hanta Chesta Vibhumna Kaludur Vibhavya Vaishnavis. Sa, the, kalu, however, idam, this, universe, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Kala, of time, Shaktya, by the force, Guna Pravahena, by the interaction of the modes of nature. Vibhakta, divided, virya, whose potencies, karoti, acts upon, akarta, the non-doer, eva, although, nihanti, kills, ahanta, non-killer, chesta, the energy, vibhumna, of the Lord, kalu, certainly, durvibhavya, inconceivable. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by His inconceivable supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that He is acting, but He is not the actor. He is killing, but He is not the killer. Thus, it is understood that only by His inconceivable power is everything happening. Purport. The word durvibhavya means inconceivable by our tiny brain. And vibhaktavirya means divided in varieties of potencies. This is the right explanation of the display of creative energies in the material world. We can better understand the mercy of God by an example. A government state is always supposed to be merciful, but sometimes, in order to keep law and order, the government employs its police force, and thus punishment is meted out to the rebellious citizens. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always merciful and full of transcendental qualities, but certain individual souls have forgotten their relationship with Krishna and have endeavored to lord it over material nature. As a result of their endeavor, they are involved in varieties of material interaction. It is incorrect to argue, however, that because energy issues from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the actor. In the previous verse, the word nimitta matram indicates that the Supreme Lord is completely aloof from the action and reaction of this material world. In the previous verse, we learned that nimitta matram means the remote cause from a far distant place. So here, Prabhupada's explaining that the remote cause indicates that the Supreme Lord is completely aloof from the action and reactions of this material world. So then Prabhupada asks the rhetorical question, so how is everything being done? The word inconceivable has been used. It is not within the power of one's small brain to comprehend, unless one accepts the inconceivable power and energy of the Lord. One cannot make any progress. So this is the point that the scientists have difficulty with. Prabhupada says that we have to accept that some of the power and energy of the Lord is inconceivable to our tiny brain. And unless we accept that, we're not going to make any progress in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are some scientists who don't accept that. They think that we can comprehend and that we can conceive of anything. But I'll give an example to show that they're wrong, that their explanation is false. Let's take an ant for an example. If an ant walks across this page, all it sees is black and white. It has no idea that there's Sanskrit, there's English, that there's deep philosophy involved. It's inconceivable to that ant. There's no way he can possibly understand. Not only that, the actions and interactions of society in Timisoara is also completely inconceivable to the ant. There's no way he could possibly understand life, human life in Timisoara. So we can accept that things are inconceivable to the ant. Now, the difference between us and an ant is not so great as compared to the difference between us and Krishna. The difference between us and Krishna is much greater than the difference between us and the ant. The ant and us, we have many things in common. We're temporary. We have a material body. We're struggling for existence. We can only understand certain things, and we can't understand anything beyond that. Certain things are inconceivable to both the ant and also to us. However, for Krishna, nothing is temporary, everything's eternal. For Krishna, everything is conceivable. For Krishna, there's no birth, death, old age, and disease. So the gulf of difference between us and Krishna is much greater than the gulf of difference between us and the ant. Therefore, we have to accept that there's going to be some inconceivability that we're not going to be able to understand where Krishna is coming from and how his energies are acting. So once we can understand that, then we can make progress in Krishna consciousness, because then we rely on our faith, Shraddha. Now there's a difference between faith, Shraddha, and blind faith, Andhavishwas. Blind faith means that I just have faith, but I don't have any explanation or any understanding about it. However, Shraddha means faith based on understanding. That because I'm taking up the process of devotional service, my heart and mind are gradually becoming purified. And as they are purified, I begin to understand more and more. And as I understand more and more, my faith becomes stronger and stronger. Because it's based on not only understanding, but experiential understanding. And it's also based on the relationship I have with Krishna. And I begin to see how Krishna's hand is working in my life. So that's the difference between Shraddha and Andhavishwas, which is blind faith, where I don't have any understanding, I don't have any experience, I don't see the hand of God in my life, but I have some faith, I believe in God. So, therefore, Prabhupada is explaining here that this word, Durvibhavya, is very important because it means that certain things are going to be inconceivable to our tiny brain, because our brain is completely tiny compared to the brain of Krishna, where he just thinks of something and the whole universe has come into being. And of course, compared to us, the ant also has a tiny brain. However, the difference between our brain and the ant's brain is not so big compared to the difference between our brain and Krishna's brain. So this is the point that Prabhupada's making. So unless we accept the inconceivable power and energy of the Lord, we can't make any progress in devotional life. Then Prabhupada continues, the forces which act are certainly set up by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is always aloof from their action and reaction. So this means that Krishna sets up or puts into action the laws of the material nature, how things are going to go on. And then that as a background, the laws of material nature and the gunas, that is the background. Then we act and we get reactions. So our actions cause reactions from the material nature. So Krishna's aloof from that. He just set it up, and then he just goes to the rasa dance, and he's enjoying with his friends, dancing or herding the cows like this. And we are trapped in this material nature, and we can't get out. We can't get out no matter how hard we try. We're trapped even in this material world. There's no way we can get out. So the forces which act upon us were originally the laws that came with this material realm. But Krishna is aloof from their action and reaction because it's our activities that create the reactions. So the varieties of energies produced by the interaction of material nature produces the varieties of species of life and their resultant happiness and unhappiness. So now we're going deeper into the subject. Based upon our actions and the reactions we get, at the time of death, we get a suitable body for such actions and reactions. So for example, Prabhupada used to give this example. If we're a meat eater, meat eating is an action. It's not really meant for human beings. So in our next life, we'll get the body of a carnivore, either a tiger or a lion or a jackal or whatever. Because that's the mentality that we've developed through the interaction of the modes of nature and our activities and reactions, so that we become free of karma. Because in the human life, if you kill an animal and eat it, you get a very heavy reaction. So the mercy of the Lord is that, okay, next life I'll give you a body of a tiger and you can kill and eat and not have any reaction. That's Krishna's mercy. You won't have any karmic reaction. You can kill and eat as much as you want, and it's just natural. But in the human form of life, that's not natural. Therefore, you get a karmic reaction. So what kind of karmic reaction are there? There are different karmic reactions depending on the different ways that we kill other living entities. So let's give the example of the cow. According to Shastra, anybody who kills a cow has to take birth again in a cow body as many times as there are hairs on the body of that cow. So, cows are very big, and there's innumerable hairs on the body of that cow. We can't even count them. It's like counting the grains of sand on the beach. So, therefore, many of these cows that are being slaughtered today were cow killers, were humans who were cow killers in previous lives, and they're taking birth again and again and being killed and slaughtered again and again because that's their karma. For as many hairs on the body of a cow, you have to take birth and get slaughtered. That's the karmic reaction. So it's a heavy thing. That's why we stress above everything else, try to be vegetarian. If you can't be vegetarian, at least don't eat cow. If you have to eat meat, then stick to chicken and pig. But don't eat the cow. It's just, it's just the most abominable thing. And of course, we give reasons. The cow is your mother. We're not going to say because you're going to take birth for every hair on the body of the cow and suffer. That's a little too heavy for most people. They're not going to be able to understand that. I think we're crazy. You just say because the cow is your mother. You're taking the milk for the mother cow for your whole life. And you take the milk of your human mother for only a couple of years. So you're drinking the milk of mother cow year after year after year after year. You should understand that you're taking her milk. She's your mother. Show her some respect. So this is the point that Prabhupada's making here, that the varieties of energies produced by the interaction of material nature produces the varieties of species of life and their resultant happiness and unhappiness. When Prabhupada says their resultant happiness and unhappiness, he means their suffering, their actions and reactions of their karma. So the karmic reactions are known in Sanskrit as karma phala. The fruit of your action is the reaction. And it may be positive or it may be negative. In most cases, it's negative. But there are cases when your reaction is positive. But in either case, whether active, whether positive or negative, as far as Vaishnavas are concerned, it's all negative. Because we want to live a life of akarma, no karmic reaction whatsoever. And that is called akarma. And when you live a life of akarma, then we are performing devotional service because there's no reaction for any activity we do in devotional service. So this is the point that Arjuna makes to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. After he asks Krishna to draw the chariot in the middle of the battlefield so he can see who's arrayed against him in the fight, and he sees grandfather Bhishma, he sees his teachers, his friends, his relatives. He says, "Wow, I can't do this. This is adharmic," and he gives very many good reasons. He says that in this war, all these senior men are going to die, and what happens to their wives? Their wives will become widows, and the young soldiers, they'll also be killed. And then what happens to the daughters? They won't have any husbands. So the whole thing is adharma. And when women are left unprotected, then they get exploited by demoniac men, lusty men who are only out to take advantage of those who cannot defend themselves. So therefore, Arjuna comes to the conclusion this is adharmic. It just brings bad karma, and I don't want to get involved. I'm out of here. And Krishna has to preach to him that actually no, because you're doing it under my instruction, you don't get the karma. The karma will come to me instead of to you because you're acting under my order. And Krishna says to Arjuna, so you don't have to worry about the karma coming to you because it's going to come to me and I can handle it. It's no problem for me. So you just act under my order. And Prabhupada gave a very nice example in this connection. Make it very clear. He says that young men are sometimes drafted into the army. And they're trained up how to shoot and how to kill, and they go to war. And in that war, they may shoot and kill so many enemies. And when they come home, they're considered heroes. They protected the country. But after leaving the army, if that same hero who protected the country kills one person, immediately he goes to jail as a criminal. So he was a hero because he was acting under the instruction of the government. Therefore, no karma came to him. But when he's a private citizen and he kills someone, then the karma comes to him and now he's a criminal. Clear? Yes? So it's the same way with us. When we act under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative, then no karma comes to us. But if we act outside of the orders of the Supreme Lord, then the karma does come to us. So that's very clear. So then Prabhupada continues in the next paragraph. How the Lord acts is nicely explained in the Vishnu Purana. Fire is situated in one place, while the heat and light produced by the fire act in many different ways. So like, for example, in the middle of the winter, we have a fireplace, and the fire is burning in one corner of the room, but the whole room gets the heat, even though the fire is the remote cause of the heat. Also, if you turn off the electric lights, there's still light in that room coming from the fire. And again, the fire is the remote cause of the heat and the light in the room. Even though it's only in one place, it's not here, still the heat and the light comes here. So that's one explanation of the remote cause, which is in the previous verse was known as nimitta matram. So that is a example from the Vishnu Purana, how the remote cause acts in different areas where it's not. So it's only in one place, but it acts in this place here where it isn't. Then Prabhupada says another example that's given is that the electric powerhouse is situated in one place, but by its energies, many different types of machinery move. The production is never identical with the original source of the energy, but the original source of energy, being the prime factor, is simultaneously one with and different from the product. So we have a machine. You have to plug it in. When you plug it in, it's connected to the powerhouse which sends out electricity. And then it works on electric power. And it can store a tiny amount of that electric power in a battery. So when you unplug it, it still works for some time, but then the battery runs down and the laptop doesn't work anymore. Again, you have to plug it in so that it gets the energy from the powerhouse. So that's the example Prabhupada's given. The Nimitta Matram, the electric grid that's running everything in Timeshwara, is situated far away, but it comes into every room, in every building in Timeshwara, and you can plug in and get electric power just by plugging in to your room. And that electric power is coming from a remote source, the powerhouse. Therefore, Prabhupada concludes, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, is the perfect way of understanding. In this material world, the Lord incarnates in three forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, by which he takes charge of the three modes of material nature. By his incarnation of Brahma, he creates. As the incarnation of Vishnu, he maintains. And by his incarnation of Shiva, he also annihilates. But the original source of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which is Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, is always apart from these actions and reactions of material nature. So here Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the guna avatars. The three guna avatars are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Lord Brahma is the guna avatar of Krishna, representing and empowering or giving the power to the Rajaguna, the material mode of passion. Shiva is the incarnation of the Lord, who is in charge of the Tamoguna, the material mode of ignorance. And Vishnu, the Vishnu form, there are many, many Vishnu forms, but the particular Vishnu form, that's the Guna avatar, known as Kirodakshayi Vishnu, is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in the mode of goodness, Sattva Guna. So we're also taught that although Brahma and Shiva are in charge of the creative Rajaguna and the destructive Tamaguna, respectively, still they are not influenced by those modes. They're transcendental to those modes, but they are in charge of those modes. And Prabhupada gives an example of the jailhouse. You have the superintendent of the jailhouse, of the prison house. He can come and go in the prison, no problem. He's not like the prisoners. Although he goes there every day and he has his office and that's where he works. Most of the day he's also in prison. But he has freedom in that prison. Whereas the criminals, they're also in the prison house, but they don't have any freedom. So in this way, Brahma and Shiva, although they're in charge of those gunas, they're not influenced by them, they're not controlled by them. Rather, they are controlling those energies. So in this way, Prabhupada's explaining Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, Achintya Bheda Abhed Tattva, the inconceivability of oneness and difference simultaneously. And another example that's famously given is of the sun. The sun, if you look up in the sky, at any particular time, it's in a particular place. It can be rising, it could be in the middle, it could be setting, but it's in one particular place, always. But the sunshine is everywhere. The sun shines in your room, comes through the window in your room in Timisoara. That same sunshine comes through the window of my room in Vrindavan, and it comes into the room of people living in New York and London and Los Angeles, all over the world. So that sunshine it expands everywhere, even though the sun itself is localized. So the example is given of Achintya Bheda Abhed Tattva, that the sunshine is simultaneously the same as the sun. It's just an example. It's just the energy, the separated energy. It's not even the separated energy, it's the unseparated energy of the sun. And the sun itself is the energetic. Because if the sun was to come into your room, you would be vaporized instantly. But the sunshine, when it comes in, is not vaporizing you, but it's pleasing. Now, I said that the sunshine is the unseparated, the non-separated energy of the sun. You can't separate it from the sun. So an example can be given. You can have a pot, and the sun is shining in the pot. So the pot is filled with sunlight. But if all of a sudden you cover that pot, is there still sunlight in the pot? No. You can go into a dark room and open it up and there's no light there. Because you can't separate that energy of the sunlight from the sun. It's inseparable. Whereas with water, you can. If you go to the sea and you fill that pot with water and then you cover it and you come back to Timisoara and you open it up, there's water in there. You can separate the energy of the water from the sea, but you can't separate the energy of the sun, the sunlight, from the sun. So this is Achintya Bheda Abhed Tattva. We have to accept the inconceivability of various energies that are sometimes one and completely different. And this is Lord Chaitanya's contribution to the world's philosophic understanding of God, which most people don't have access to. But by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are able to understand this. We have access to this. So in this way, we are blessed by the mercy of the Lord. So let me just read the verse again so it becomes clear. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing, but he is not the killer. Thus it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening. So everything's happening according to the laws of nature that came with the material energy that Krishna created, and it all happens within the boundary of time. And nothing exists outside of time in this material world. So time is a flow. It's a flow from the future to the past. And everything happens in that flow between the future and the past. It begins with a thought. So I have a thought that I'm going to snap my fingers. Or someone has a thought that they're going to do something. And then in the course of time, that thought is manifested as action. And the finger is snapped or something happens. But then it's in the past instantly. There's no present. What we call the present actually doesn't exist. Because if you analyze it more and more, you know, what is the present? It's just a cosmic microsecond, but it's a flow from what was it previously in the future and now is in the past. So in the material world, that's all we have is the flow from the energy of the future of time into the past, where time has already concluded that action. Whereas in the spiritual world, there is no flow of future into past. Everything is now. Everything is eternally present, which is beyond our experience. Therefore, we have to accept the inconceivability of the spiritual realm. That's one example. Another example is in the material world, we can meet someone for the very first time and experience that wonderful feeling of meeting someone for the first time. But in the spiritual world, you can meet someone for the first time so many times. Radha and Krishna, for example, meet for the first time in so many different times, places, and circumstances. And it's all happening in the present. This is completely inconceivable for us. It doesn't make sense. That's what we come to the conclusion. It's illogical. But yet, that's what happens. So therefore, Prabhupada's whole point here is that unless we accept the inconceivability of Krishna and Krishna's realm and the spiritual nature, unless we accept that, we're going to try and fit everything about God and God's world, God's spiritual realm, into our mundane understanding of relative time. And of course, that gets us nowhere. So we have to have that shraddha, that faith. And that's how we make progress. Because without that faith, and without the acceptance of the inconceivability of Krishna and the spiritual realm, if we don't accept that, we'll never understand, we'll never make progress. That is the sum and substance of the shloka. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask ask you that in the process of devotional service, there are so many rules and regulations, and we cannot understand all of them. Why should we do like this or like that? At least in the beginning, or in our beginning stage. And what should we do? We should wait until we understand the rules and after that apply them, or we should follow them and in the hope that later we will understand why we are doing like that or like this.
Well, the first thing is this, that we have to understand that the rules and regulations that are given to us are for our benefit. They're to help us make advancement. They're meant to reduce our material perspective and conception of everything and replace it with a spiritual conception. And that happens through the purification of the heart and mind. So we begin to see things differently and understand things differently than we did before. And it's a gradual process. So we follow those rules and regulations because we see the result of doing that. And not only we see the result, but our friends and family see the result too. Since you became a Hare Krishna, you're different. You're not the same as you used to be. Anybody had that experience? Did people tell you like that? Yeah, see? So we do see the result. And Prabhupada taught us, palena parichiyate, you judge by the result. So we may not fully understand or even accept or even want to follow the rules or regulations. But if we do, we get the result. And actually, that's what we want. We're here to get the result, to become spiritualized. So if you follow the process, you get the result. If you don't follow the process, you don't get the result. It's logical. So once you get the result, then you've accomplished what the process was meant to do for you. And so you're no longer required to follow the process because you're already there. You already made it. But to encourage others, you still follow that process, to encourage people who are not there. And so you want to set the example. So even the liberated souls, it looks like they're performing sadhana bhakti, but they're not. And the example that Prabhupada gave in this connection is that the teacher in the grade, first and second grades, is teaching the alphabet to the students. This is A, this is B, this is C. Doesn't mean that the teacher is also learning it. The teacher already knows this, but he's teaching to the children who don't know it. So the pure devotees, they're acting in a way to teach and inspire others. Doesn't mean that they're also part of the process. They've already got the results of the process. So they're in a different level. So that level is called enlightened. So we're either in darkness, Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. We're born in the darkness of ignorance, but by the inconceivable mercy of that topmost swan-like devotee and wandering mendicant, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, He has so kindly come to us who were standing in the darkness of ignorance with our eyes closed shut, and He's opened our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Someone else had a question?
I wanted to ask what Krishna Katha means, because most of the time we just talk about how this material world works, how the process of devotional service works, and we don't actually talk about Krishna himself. And what is the purpose of that?
Yeah, so Krishna Katha means topics of discussion about Krishna. So it can mean that we should be talking about Krishna Nam, his holy name, Krishna Lila, his pastimes, Krishna Guna, his qualities, Krishna Rupa, his different forms, Krishna Shiksha, his instructions, his teachings. So if we discuss about his teachings, that's also Krishna Katha. So his teachings are in Bhagavad Gita. And we're following his teachings. The teachings are in Bhagavad Gita, the teachings are in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're following that. So when we discuss the material energy, is that Krishna Katha? This is your question. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have Maharaj Parikshit. He has 7 days left to live. And he's asking different questions. And one of the questions he's asking is, how does this material world work? So, and Sukadev Goswami is spending a lot of time explaining how the material energy works in this small 7-day window that Maharaj Parikshit has before he leaves his body. So obviously it is Krishna Katha because it's in the Bhagavatam, and it's related to Krishna, how Krishna's energy works. He has his superior energy, which we like to refer to as Krishna Katha, but when we discuss his inferior energy and how that works, that's also Krishna Katha, and that's why it's in the Bhagavatam. That's why Sukadev Goswami is explaining how Swayambhuva Manu discussed this with Dhruva. So it's also Krishna Katha. And anything that's in the Bhagavatam is Krishna Katha. So the Bhagavatam is explaining how material energy works. And it's not anything to do with the rasa dance or herding the cows in Vrindavan, but it's still Krishna Katha because it's dealing with Krishna's energies, Krishna's teachings, Krishna's instructions. Everything comes from Krishna. So anything that we discuss that's related to Krishna is considered Krishna Katha. And if it's not related to Krishna, like programming for a company in Timisoara, that may not be related to Krishna, so we wouldn't call that Krishna Katha. But whatever's in the Bhagavatam is definitely Krishna Katha. Okay? Any other points? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go to Premanandi.
Yeah.